Hey everyone, Matt here on another edition of Ask Ron. Ron, how you doing today?
Good, man. Getting ready to go on a camping trip over the weekend to Halloween over in Live Oak, Florida.
Oh man, that should be a blast.
Oh, it is a blast. Crazy things go on there.
Yep, I'm sure you'll see some interesting people, that's
Yeah,
for sure.
I'm running around half naked. Millions of lights, non-stop shows, rock and roll music. So we just go to watch the people.
Hey, that's a good reason to go. All right, Ron, we got a few questions today, so we'll go ahead and get started. And before you ask that, I gotta ask, what
Good.
does your shirt say? I've been trying to read this.
Okay, there you go. There it is.
There is no such thing as a grouchy old person. The truth is, once you get old, you stop being polite and start being honest.
That's
If that ain't the truth.
that's me, bro. That's me. I think my wife got that for me. I'm not sure.
Love it. The first few we have are from Tony and Angie Stewart up in Ohio,
What a surprise.
right?
Yeah.
All right. Their first question is, Ron, we got a hold of your Quick Start board game and it is awesome. Why
Huh.
don't you promote it anymore? And do you have any plans to make an online version?
I didn't make it, guys. A student took it upon themselves to make those things and ordered them from China. Therefore, I couldn't make that particular game. So I don't have control of it. I don't know how you got one, Tony and Angie. I got one. They aren't for sale anywhere that I know of. So, let me know where you got that thing.
All right. I have to say, I don't think I've seen one yet. I gotta see this thing.
Well, I do have a board game. It's very similar to Cash Flow by Kiyosaki. Got a little bit of Monopoly in it, and it is a really cool game. They did a good job on it.
It's awesome. All right. Their next question is, tonight, a lawyer spoke at a real estate investors meeting about a new federal LLC reporting requirements that are to start on January 1st, 2024. You
Mhm.
should have seen the unhappiness in the Zoom comments. He was mad, and so were the attendees. I know the answer is probably no, but I have to ask. Do you think that these changes will result in you making any changes in the 4 LLC strategy that you teach?
Not a one. Not a one. And I just read it yesterday for the first time myself, to be honest. So, I don't have all the particulars yet. Too early to comment on it, but from what I read, it doesn't bother me a bit.
Perfect. All right. Moving on to the next question. This one is a two-parter. They say, first, I have a seller that is open to terms but needs to get their equity for a down payment on another house. If, and I do mean if, the numbers worked, would you preference be for them to get a HELOC, refinance, or a second mortgage so that they can get a portion of that equity?
I would suggest that you teach them how to go buy real estate without using the equity in their house, because that is very dangerous. If they, make a mistake with that money, they're going to be paying off that debt for years and don't have anything to show for it. I'd try to talk them out of doing it, period. You don't need money to go invest in other properties. You need training, learn how to do it, do it correctly. So I hope they don't get the loan. I hope they get turned down everywhere they go.
All right. And their second part of this question is, if they are open to either way, is there a reason why I would get the house on a lease option rather than wraparound mortgage?
So this is the seller that they're talking about that wants to
Hmm.
go. Okay. No, you can wrap if they go get a HELOC, that's more likely to be called due than any other type of loan, except for a reverse mortgage loan. But that bothers me. I can't tell you to do that because you need to have a plan in case the bank did call a loan due and get nasty. I can tell you that right now, I'm telling you, the bank wants that house back like they want COVID. That's the last thing they want is another house. They'll probably bend over backwards not to take it back. But you don't never know that for sure. So you got to be prepared for the worst. You're buying it with no personal guarantee at all. So it doesn't make any difference what kind of a loan they put on the property. You can still wrap it, but HELOC is the most dangerous one for you to take over. Well, except the reverse mortgage. If you do this, seller must have full disclosure that the bank will call the loan due, must close with an attorney, and he'll explain it to him again, because it is risky for the seller.
All right.
Well, again, though, if you lease option it, then that risk goes away because the title hasn't transferred. And that's probably what I'd suggest you do.
All right. Lease option's the way to go. All right. Moving on to the next question. They say, I get a $40,000 non-refundable option deposit. In regards to a tax set aside, reserves for maintenance after the tenant buyer moves out, unexpected expenses, etc., how would you split up the $40,000?
I would definitely put part of it in for a reserve for those times when the house might want the money back, like if it's vacant or if it needs repairs when you turn it over again. But other than that, you better have a conversation with your CPA, because he's probably going to want to report it as income this year, and you get taxed on it because it is a non-refundable deposit. Therefore, it's almost certainly taxable. If that's the case, you let your CPA tell you what tax bracket that you're in so far for this year, and that's at least the amount of money that you ought to have. If you're in business for yourself, you have to make quarterly deposits, so just make the quarterly deposit and get the money out of your hands as soon as you can verify that the IRS is going to want to tax this year.
Perfect. All right, Tony and Angie's next question is, what exactly is a master lease, and under what conditions should this transaction engineer of yours consider it?
A master lease is really not much different than a regular lease that you know about on a single family house. It is usually used when there are multi-units, and sometimes the one that's doing the master leasing from you lives in the property. Sometimes they don't. You can master lease a 100-unit apartment complex, and therefore there are no closing costs to transfer a title, and you can go do the same thing you would do, except you can't borrow money on it if you are only leasing it. But it's frankly just a way to take control of a property with multi-units in it, and then do the same thing you do if you own it.
All right, Ron, we've come to our last question from Tony and Angie. Are you ready?
Yeah.
They say, I have to ask, I have a number of leads that the VAs call, and they come back with a disposition of no interest. When I check, the houses say that they are still available. What do you think is going on in the seller's head to communicate with the VAs this way?
I don't know that I've ever gotten one that said no interest. They, I get a lot of them that say no, they don't want terms, but that don't mean anything. I think that you should call them anyway, if that's your question. Communications between the seller and the VA are not going to be the same with the principal, you, and the seller. When they know that you're the one that can buy their house, they'll open up. You watch them open up. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to want terms. But if they don't want terms, it's no different than any other call. I think you should totally ignore those words. In fact, I think you should ignore everything on the bottom under notes, because it'll deter you from making a call, and that would be a mistake.
All right. There you go, guys. That was the last one we have from Tony and Angie. Moving on to our next question.
Thanks, guys. I pick on you a lot, but we do appreciate your questions.
Absolutely. Keep them coming in.
But I'm not saying I'm not going to quit picking on you.
All right. Our next question is from Farhad in Missouri. Farhad says, I found a property where the owner is dead and the property is in the probate court. I talked with his parents and they might be interested in selling the house to me. How can I know what is going on in the probate court? What is my best way to proceed?
Your best way to proceed is if you can strike a deal with the parents, go ahead and get a contract on it. And they should put in a contract that is subject to the completion of probate. And, you can't put in this particular contract, you would put that you would close 30 days within 30 days after the completion of the probate. So the contract lasts as long as it takes. I'll tell you what, we just this month, we spent several months helping the seller get through probate. we have a contract to buy the house, and I'll be darned, as soon as it cleared the probate, they sold it to somebody else. So, you definitely need a contract, but as far as I'm concerned, it wouldn't hurt to get a quit claim deed signed by them as well. And, I mean, literally the day it comes out of probate, make sure that that thing is recorded, unless you're ready to close the transaction right then, and you should be. So if it's in probate and you get a contract to purchase the property, then you want to get a hold of the attorney that's handling the probate and let him know that you have a contract to purchase the property, and to keep that doesn't mean bound to, but doesn't hurt to ask. But you got to keep checking in with whoever's filing the probate proceedings. In fact, we chose the attorney to put this couple with, and that was a bad choice because, frankly, they literally destroyed the deal for us, and they allowed this to happen without even telling us.
All right, there you go, Farhad. Moving on to the next question, we have Chuck out in California. Chuck says, Nate from Directed IRA set up my Roth IRA, and the IRA is now fully funded. Can I use those funds to pay all the costs associated with getting an LLC set up that will be owned by my Roth IRA? For
Yes.
example, filing fees, annual dues.
And yes, you should.
Perfect. That one was easy.
Yeah.
All right, Ron.
Make sure you don't use it for anything else except the IRA's business. Don't write a check to yourself for $10 out of your IRA, or you're violating the rules.
That's right.
And that they can be ugly. And the IRS has got people looking at that kind of stuff as well. In fact, what I'm told, IRA-owned LLCs is a prime target for them because they know people screw them up so easy, and it's pretty easy for them to go get some money, which is why, the people that own the IRA companies have always told me it's not a good idea for you to be the manager of the LLC that is owned by your IRA. Because you can be, but you shouldn't be. It's just too easy for you to screw up along the way. We get to work and we get out here in everyday business. We forget about all these rules, and next thing you know, we unintentionally violate them. But once you violate them, you can't go back. And so just do it right to begin with. And I wouldn't be the one writing the checks for my IRA or for the
Great
LLC.
advice.
Yeah.
All right, Ron, we'll come to our last question of the day. This one's from Mark, who's up in Wisconsin. Probably a little cold up there. All right, Mark says, I found a house that I would like to buy. It's vacant, and all the public records, property tax bill, and my attorney's research, along with the neighbors, show that the corporation that owns it is dissolved, and every contact person for it is dead or knows nothing about it. There is no mortgage or liens on it either. I'm at a complete dead end. How do I get a new deed created for it so I can buy it?
Can't get a deed unless the seller signs it, or you go to a tax deed sale and win the bid, but then they're going to bid it way up and may not even want it anymore. You got no mortgage to foreclose on, so you can't buy the mortgage and then foreclose. So you're just gonna, I don't know, there's got to be somebody that's in that chain, which a private investigator could tell you, that is legally able to sign the deed. I don't know who the heck it would be. If your attorney don't know the answer to that question, I don't either. That is a rare situation.
Yeah.
And people wonder why houses sit around ugly and vacant all the time. There's lists this long of reasons why, and that's one of them. The person died and nobody cared, or they didn't have anybody to care.
Yep. Maybe that private investigator is a good idea.
Yeah.
All right, Ron. That's all we have for today.
That's it. Okay.
That was it.
All right.
Easy day.
See you guys next week.